All right, Steve, I just mentioned this about Texas. Based on what Seager and Simeon got, based on DeGrom, Gray, Eovaldi, the moves they made in the offseason, and then, of course, they doubled down at the deadline. If this team doesn't make the playoffs, normally you'd say, you know what, they've had a good year. They haven't been around for a long time. It's a step in the right direction. They also brought an older manager in Bochy. This would be an utter disaster if they can't figure out. It's bad enough they're not going to win the division. This would be an utter disaster if they can't figure out a way to get the sixth spot. Am I too harsh, or do you agree with me on that? Let me hear.
No, I agree with you. I mean, considering how they played for the vast majority of the season, I mean, they were in first place in the division for like 148 days, and now it slipped away from them. They're 4-15 in their last 19 games. The offense has gone away, and the pitching, the bullpen has collapsed. And the problem with the bullpen is they're so overworked because the starting pitching is struggling right now. I mean, Eovaldi lasted, an inning and a third. Scherzer goes 3 innings, and they're getting more and more innings, and they only have 2 off days remaining during the season where their bullpen's not going to be able to catch their breath. And so this is a huge collapse, and I think about Bruce Bochy. You think, well, you got a veteran manager. I don't know that he's ever experienced anything like this, right? His teams always play this consistent level of baseball. This is something different that he hasn't been through. They spent a lot of money, Chris, but they took a lot of risks. DeGrom was a big risk. Eovaldi made 20 starts last year, and he's had elbow problems in the past. He's had 2 Tommy Johns already, so it's not a complete shock that he'd have something going on. Andrew Heaney's had arm problems in the past. And so, they've had a lot of these guys they brought in. At the deadline, I thought they could have done more with the bullpen. They did get Chapman, which was pretty good early on, but not enough. And the rest of the bullpen has collapsed. He's not been that great. Jordan Montgomery's been good, but I look at them right now, and here's the thing. Scherzer isn't right. His post-game interview yesterday, he looks like a guy, he said he's got an ailment. Sounds like he's got a forearm strain. He's not able to get the ball in the zone where he wants to with the same sort of bite that he wants to. And every year, at the end of the year, he gets fatigued and runs down a little bit. I'm really concerned that I don't know that they have the ability to stop the snowball from rolling down the mountain and turning into an avalanche.
Well, they better sweep the A's. They have them this weekend. You can't even let Oakland win a game. They have to play well against the A's. We shall see how we do about that. I know you love Toronto, so I'm not going to give you a chance to wax poetic. You drive me crazy with the Blue Jays. So let me do something on the Yankees. The Yankees
you want to talk about the Yankees? Wait a minute, You want to talk about the Yankees? I'm shocked by that. Okay, go ahead.
No, why not? They're a game over 500. Everybody wrote them off, and that sometimes even the own team did. Cashman, an embarrassment. Hal Steinbrenner, I'm going to look at everything, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes when you do that, the team says, what the heck? They all think we stink. Let's go out there and have some fun. And they go out there and they play great. They've won 8 of 9. They play the Pirates. They have a game today against the lousy Tigers. They had the Diamondbacks at home. They don't have Baltimore. They don't have Tampa. They owe the Red Sox something. They got 4 games in Fenway. They probably won't make it, but they do have 6 at the Blue Jays, and they only trail by 6. Yankees have a chance at 70-69. Let me hear your thoughts with them. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think they have as much of a chance as the Padres do, which is no chance at all. I mean, look, it's a nice run that the Yankees are on, and you're right. The Jason Dominguez kid has relaxed everybody. He's put on a show. He's got a personality to him. I love when the fans called him out, to do the roll call at Yankee Stadium. He did the ET phone home thing, and he's the Martian. And John Sterling with the home run call. And I mean, he's a good-looking young player, and he's brought an energy level. LeMahieu has started to pick up his game a little bit now, too. Judge is still Judge. Stanton hit the big home run, number 400 in his career. But there's just not enough consistency for them to make up the ground they need. So they may push a little bit, but I think that it's going to be too little too late. And at some point, they're going to settle back into what they've been, where they don't have enough pitching on a day that they're not scoring to be able to beat the opposition. And I just don't think there's going to be enough for them to get there. Plus, they have both Texas and Toronto and Boston in front of them. I think it's a lot to ask to go over 3 teams to get into that 3rd spot.
All right, so you think the Blue Jays will get the last spot over Texas? That's what you think right now?
I do. Yeah, I do. I think they'll end up getting it. Now, that they're in a soft part of their schedule right now. It gets much more difficult over the next, 10 days after this run. They got Kansas City coming up and some lesser teams. They got the Yankees on the schedule. They got the Red Sox on the schedule, where they haven't played well against the American League East, but they are going to get fortified likely on the weekend with Bo Bichette and Chapman coming back, which could help them over the last couple weeks of the season.
Let's do the National League right now. The Dodgers pitching is an absolute disaster. Kershaw, I guess, wasn't right. You knew they were going to cool off, but you don't like the idea that they lost 3 to Atlanta. They've been mauled by the Marlins. Lance Lynn is not the answer. I don't know what they think they're getting out of Buehler. Listen, we know that they're the Dodgers. They have a great offense, Betts and Freeman. But the issue for the Dodgers is not, making the postseason. The issue for the Dodgers is winning the National League pennant. And I don't think this pitching right now can get by Atlanta in a championship series, much less Milwaukee if they had to play them. What's your take there? Let me hear.
Yeah, so Kershaw, I don't worry about him, but I think he's a 5-inning guy right now. So you're going to need the support behind him. Maybe he can go 6 in the playoffs, but he's not going to go much further than that. He had one sort of rocky start. He's going to be all right. I'm not worried about Kershaw. But the Urias situation has put them in a bind because Lance Lynn is clearly not going to be an effective postseason pitcher. They were all over him yesterday and anything he threw to the plate. Gonsolin's been lost to Tommy John surgery. Dustin May's out to Tommy John surgery. They don't really. Bobby Miller, I love him, but he's a rookie and he's got a good arm, but I don't know that he's going to shut anybody down. And Buehler, through 2 innings in a rehab start, he can come back at some point, but to expect him to step right in and be a playoff caliber, effective, consistent pitcher is hard to expect. And so they're going to have to, if they win, they're going to have to win it in a different way. They're going to have to outslug, and they're really going to have to rely upon that bullpen, which has been better. But remember, Dave Roberts called them out halfway through the season too about, listen, you guys got to pitch better than this. This isn't good enough. They stepped it up, but I'm not convinced right now. I'm with you. I think they're limping into the postseason. And unless Kershaw comes back and goes lockdown and Lance Lynn can dramatically turn things around, that's why you think back to the deadline, the Eduardo Rodriguez situation, where they thought they had a deal done with Eduardo Rodriguez. Rodriguez backed out. He had the ability to block and veto the trade. He at least would have been a guy to take the ball every 5th day from the left side who's effective. So I'm with you. I'm concerned about the Dodgers in the postseason. They're going to get there. They're going to win the division. But I don't know what they're going to be once they do get there.
Cubs and Brewers. Cubs have an easy schedule. Brewers are going to get romped this weekend at Yankee Stadium. And so the Cubs could still win the division. Now, the thing that people have to realize, there's not a lot that you're going to get by winning the division because both these teams are going to have to play the wild card round anyway. If you finish second, you're going to get the Phillies. If you finish first, you're going to get that last place team, whether it's the Marlins, the Diamondbacks, something, or Cincinnati. So there's not I know people think, well, really, they got to win the division. No, they really don't. They got to make the playoffs in that scenario because they don't get the bye. But how about Cubs and Milwaukee? Break that down for me. What do you see? Go ahead.
I look at winning that division a little bit differently. I don't want to have to play the Phillies in the wild card round. The Phillies are a scary team for me in the postseason. I think they're built for October baseball. They've got, the dominant front end starting pitching. Nola's got to be more effective, but he will. Wheeler was very good yesterday in his win. And so I don't want to play the Phillies in that round. So I want to win the division. I'd rather play whether it's Arizona or Cincinnati or Miami or any of those other teams in that third wild card. So you're obviously going to have to work your way through all those teams anyways. But I do think it matters. And, Milwaukee, I think, has the better team. But the Cubs are playing out of their mind. They've won 6 straight games. And Suzuki is really swinging the bat right now. Bellinger homers yesterday.
Yes, he is.
Ian Happ's been good. And so, and I tell you what, the young left-handers, Justin Steele's been terrific. And the young kid yesterday threw the ball, Jordan Wicks threw the ball really well. And from the left side, I like that a little bit in the playoffs. So I do think that the Brewers will hold them off, but the Cubs are going to make it really tough on them.
One last thing, and I just thought of it. If it was me, I don't want to bring Ohtani into my team. I don't want to, the idea that he wouldn't have the MRI when he had the cramps, the agent telling us, well, he's going to play the rest of the year, and I don't care what anybody says, blah, blah, blah. It's almost like your old deal with A-Rod. It's like you got 24 guys and you got the A-Rod thing. I know Ohtani plays hard. I know the players love him, but he's not pitching next year no matter what. The teams that, you got to have to pay him $500 million. Now, I'm not sure what this market's going to be. The Giants are desperate, so he'll probably get that kind of offer, but boy, oh boy, I would think very, very long and hard before I did it. What's your take with that? Let me hear.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I even as a healthy guy, I wouldn't have been in on it. I thought the price tag was too high, and I don't believe that Ohtani, the pitcher, 5 years down the road, 6 years down the road, 7, 8, 9, 10 years down the road is going to be able to be an effective pitcher. Because his body is rejecting. It's like rejecting an organ. His body's rejecting being a two-way player this year. The cramping was evidence of that. Now the elbow blowing out. And here's the thing. He's the most managed starting pitcher in baseball. Once every 6 days, you need a 6-man rotation. He gets the extra time to protect himself. And look, I have great respect for him, and I understand why he needs that. But if he was that well protected and he still blew out, then it's telling us that this can't be done the way that he wants to do it. So I don't even know how you manage him moving forward, because pitching in a 6-man rotation broke him down. And so I'm with you. I don't get involved in it. Somebody will. The Giants might. Although I think if the Mets don't sign Alonso, the Giants might try to make a move to get Pete Alonso out there to be, they could use a big aircraft carrier in their lineup. So I think the Giants are going to be big players this offseason, either in the free agent or trade market. But I think Ohtani's market's going to be really interesting, because you're right. He does need to be managed differently than everybody else, different than A-Rod, who was a player like everybody else, who just wanted to be managed differently. I think that Ohtani is different than everybody else, and I understand why he needs to be managed that way. I just can't make myself do it.